Economics is a part of the study of sociology, and commerce is a branch of economics. So, commerce has an economic basis. Economics is a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he uses it. Thus, economics studies all the activities of man in relation to wealth. Wealth in economics includes all economic goods which are used in the satisfaction of human wants. Economic goods have three characteristics. One, they must possess utility, that is, the want satisfying power. Two, they must be scarce, that is, limited in quantity in relation to demand. Three, they must be transferable. In economics, we study how wealth is produced in the various parts of the world, how it is exchanged between man and between one community and another, how it is distributed among persons who are engaged in production, and how it is consumed by persons who obtain possession of wealth. Thus, economics is concerned with the production, exchange, distribution, and consumption of wealth, whereas in commerce they are considered from the point of view of the businessman. So, commerce, which is also known as business economics, is practical application of economics. In other words, commerce includes those activities of persons who are engaged in the transference of goods from place of production to places of consumption. As such, commerce is chiefly based on that branch of economics known as exchange and partly on production. Economics is concerned with all the economic activities of man, and its scope is great, while commerce is mainly concerned with an individual's practice of wealth getting. Commerce is a part and parcel of economics, and there is a very close relationship between those two social sciences. Hence, it is said that economics is the basis of commerce and commerce is the root of economics. In any country, commercial development mainly depends on economic development. The main and ultimate aim of any economic activity is the satisfaction of human wants by production of goods. Productive activities are divided in three classes, namely industry, commerce, and direct services. Occupations which are concerned with the growing, extracting, and manufacturing of material goods are called industrial occupations. Occupations concerning the buying and selling of goods are called commercial occupations. Direct services are those which enable the other occupations to be carried on with ease and security and compromise the professions of those who render their services direct to the consumer. For example, the services of a doctor, lawyer, teacher, and soldier are not directly productive but are as important as the services of other persons. In economics, production and industry mean the same thing. Industry means the production of goods and wealth of all kinds. Commerce includes trade as well as auxiliaries to trade. Trade implies the distribution of goods that are produced by an industry. Trade is a branch of commerce and is concerned with the exchange of commodities. The trader is the main link between the producer and consumer. A trader is necessary in these modern days. There are many obstacles in transferring the goods from the producer to the consumer. These difficulties are overcome with such aids to trade as banking, finance, credit, transport, insurance, and warehousing. In primitive days, man's wants were few. The demand for goods produced was only local. The means of transport and communications were not well developed. As a result, the production was carried on a small scale and sole trading business concerns were very common. But after industrial revolution, with the advance of civilization and increase in population everywhere, man's wants have increased and production had to be carried on a large scale. Large scale production has necessitated the enlargement of the size of business units, and hence partnership firms, later on joint stock companies, have come into existence. We find nowadays advanced type of business units like combinations, cooperative societies, and state enterprises, in addition to the three forms of business organization, for example, sole trading concerns, partnership firms, and joint stock companies. A sole trading concern is the oldest and earliest form of a business unit. A sole trader is a person who carries on business of his own and brings his own capital and uses his own labor. He is the sole proprietor, manager, and organizer of the concern. He does all the work for himself and sometimes employs a salaried clerk or take the assistance of his family members. There are advantages of this form of business unit. It is simple to start and organize a sole trading concern. No legal formalities are necessary for its formation. A sole trader works hard and enjoys all the profits. Secrecy of business can be maintained. The business can be managed efficiently as the proprietor himself looks after each and every detail of the business. A sole trader comes into personal touch with his customers and thus attracts more business. He can study the tastes and needs of his customers and satisfy them properly. Quick and prompt decisions can be easily taken, and thereby a sole trader gets advantages of any changes in the market. However, there are disadvantages also. When the business has a necessity to expand, a sole trading concern cannot enlarge its scope due to limited capital. Large-scale industries cannot be started by a sole trader as his resources are limited. The managerial ability and skill are limited, which puts a limit to the expansion of business. A sole trader's borrowing capacity is also limited. The liability of the proprietor is unlimited. All his property is liable for the debts of the business. In the eyes of law, the business ceases to exist with the death or retirement of the original owner, and so there is no continuity of business. The area of operation for a sole trader is limited. Lastly, the sole trader alone has to bear all losses.